Hello. So let's get started. Are you listening to me okay? It's okay? Is this working? Working good? Okay, perfect. Hi, hello everyone. Thanks for joining me here today. First of all, I want to thank Akita for this event. This is very huge for Brazilian community to have English talks. So it's very important because English is a global language. So you need to make sure that you're trying to improve your English because it's a soft skill very important to worldwide development community. So this is very good. Second of all, we're making history today, right? This is the first edition. So some people say that when you try to make history or like discovering some land or something, you need to put a flag on it. So I'm putting a flag of Kotlin here today. So that's it. I'll put it here. Okay. This is a Kotlin flag. Today we're going to have a little bit introduction about Kotlin. So let's get started. For people who doesn't know me, my name is Walmyr. I'm from Brazil and live in São Paulo for like less than a year. And I'm currently working at 99 as a lead Android engineer for driver team, which is good because I work close to the product and very close to the product as well, instead of just the driver, but all the driver product as well, which includes a lot of operational stuff. And I'm also a Google developer expert in Brazil. We are in 5, I guess, for Android, but there's also like 20 or 30 Android developers, which also, we're 20 GDEs from Brazil, including like UI UX and web and such. So why I'm talking today, why I'm going to be talking today, how is the context of this talk? The biggest part is why to learn a new language, actually. How can I learn a new language, and actually why? I don't have time. I need to deliver. I need to finish my projects. I have already a lot of experience with my code, with my stuff that I do already on my production daily basis. And my team doesn't want to migrate to a new language and a new framework. And there's a lot of issues here and there about why do I need to learn a new language. People get sometimes a little bit controversial about it. Someone software is like disposable. I need to recycle my software every day. The software that I made yesterday is not so good right now. So every time I need to like improve myself. So sometimes you want to learn a new language as a hobby, but also you definitely want to learn as a production tool, right? Some people will say that Java is already available, so I don't need to learn a new language. Why do I need to learn a new JVM language if there's Java already providing me everything? Or for example, if I do functional programming or I work with functional programming at my work, why do I need to learn a new language? If I already has this power, for example, Nubank and other huge companies already using Clojure. 99 uses Scala a lot, actually. So why do I need to actually learn a new language today? I like to say that a programming language is a tool. Some people that can disagree with that, but I like to think that way because I like to make an analogy that you can hit a nail with a hammer, a very good hammer, and you can also hit a nail with a rock. And both will hit the nail properly, but you can see that if the efficiency of it and the reliability of it are different, you have some issues here and there, so it's hard to decide which one is good enough for that situation. Sometimes you don't have money to buy a hammer, so you need a rock, or you need to make your own hammer, so you need a rock because it's faster. It's already done for you. So you have some problems choosing tools. But I actually did not answer you properly. Why do I need to learn a new language in 2017? And when I got Kotlin last year, I was working on a project called Cielo Leo, which is like a vending machine, like a payment machine by Cielo. I was working in Rio last year, like May, I guess, or March. And it was good because they are already using Kotlin in production, and it wasn't even 1.0, it was beta, which is weird because sometimes I get a little afraid to use no production languages in production. So it was good because it was a challenge, and I was okay. This language is weird. I need to learn a new language. It was the same feeling, right? It was the same feeling of how do I need to start to learn a new language. So this was very weird. But my second impression was like, show me what you got. So, pick the language and okay, show me what you got. What do you have to offer me as a developer? Why do I need to learn Kotlin? How awesome the Kotlin language is, so I can jump in and start to make real code. And when I say real code, I say production code, because when you do your pet projects here and there and like make your own application and show to your friends, it's okay, it will crash and people say, yeah, okay. But when you have like 99 have like 300,000 drivers and like 8 million passengers, and we cannot crash in their hands, because for the driver, my product, the product that I work on, the driver lives with that. Some drivers doesn't even have other jobs, just drive with us and Uber and etc. So we need to be reliable, that reliable. So Kotlin, why the buzz? Why Kotlin is so popular these days? This is a very brief resume of what Kotlin is. It's a language created by JetBrains. I don't remember the year, but it was like 5 years ago. There's some people like fighting against who was made first, if it was Swift or Kotlin. There's some fights running out, but it doesn't matter. Both languages are very cool and very similar, actually. JetBrains created Swift, actually, because of necessity. JetBrains created Kotlin because of necessity. Java wasn't providing their flexibility that they need to make their IDEs. By the way, JetBrains, they have like 10,000 or 10 million lines of code in every IDE that you use, like PyCharm and IntelliJ and Android Studio. They already has Kotlin production for a long time now, since the beginning. So they like made the language using it on their own product. So it was good for them to learn a lot, and like the design choices that they made for the language were very prompted to the usage of it. So the language is open source, which is good. So if you're as Android developer, we're kind of afraid of Oracle, because Oracle did a lot of copyright stuff around Java, and the Java that we have on Android is like Java 6. Right now we have Java 8 support, and the Java 8 support on Android is like not so good. They have some stuff here and there, but not so many features. And there's also Java 9 coming, and Android is not getting that. So Kotlin is good for Android developers because you have a lot of features that are available in new versions of Java, like lambdas and etc. and streams, but you need to like use hetero lambda and other stuff to get that on Android. So it's open source, you can jump on it. Compiles to JVM, JS, and native, which means that if you work already with JVM using like Scala, like Groovy or Clojure, you can use Kotlin. It supports Gradle, it supports any other plugin. If you work with JavaScript, you can use Kotlin. It generates the code for you by bridge, but I never use that, to be honest. So I don't know if it works properly. And also, they have a project called Kotlin Native, which is a project that brings Kotlin to native platforms. So, for example, if you're coding a game for iOS and Android, you can use Kotlin. I'll show you a little bit more of that later. There's also no safety by design, which means that it's very, very hard to get a null pointer exception in Kotlin. Instead of Java, is very easy because sometimes the IDE lets you jump to the hell. So sometimes even if it's building, if you don't have like link checks or something, you get null pointer exception in production, which is bad because you lose money and you get users angry. So Kotlin, I'll show you a little bit of nullability in Kotlin, so it will be easier for you to understand what I'm saying. The interoperability of Java is good. You don't need to replace Java with Kotlin. You can use both on your project. After the language overview, I will show you a real code example of 99, which we use Kotlin production. So you can see that we use Java libraries inside Kotlin and vice versa. So it's really good. And there's also supports object-oriented programming and functional programming, kind of. There's some features here and there, like high-order functions and lambdas and strings and lazy initialization or something like table recursion. There's some stuff that you can use in Kotlin, and that's good because you can have the both paradigms inside the same project. So this is good. This is a very good image that one of the good reasons to adopt Kotlin is the community engagement. So this is a graph that shows how much code there's already available in Kotlin and on GitHub. So you can see the graph. They started like 2012 and like growing a lot since then. The first 1.0 version was last year. So we're using Kotlin at 99 since then. But as you can see, it's very exponential. So we had this 1.0 version this year, and there's a lot of Kotlin already in GitHub and open source. Stack Overflow did a form that for developer survey, sorry, and a lot of developers are very interested in Kotlin. So it's very good to see community engagement. So you not be alone. Like you find your answers on the internet. So this is good. Okay, I'm saying here that Kotlin is good, the language is okay, JetBrains is awesome, but how we use Kotlin at 99? We use Kotlin 99 in production for like more than a year now, and this is our graphs actually. We have the passenger app and the driver app. We have like 69% of Kotlin in the passenger app. Most of the Java part is legacy. Everything that is new. Every new feature, every refactoring, every bug fix or anything, we do in Kotlin when we can. And we're trying to kill the Java part here. The other part is just the build fast lanes and CI/CD stuff. But passenger is better, 69.5% and 52% more or less. So we're good. We have more than half the projects in both projects are written in Kotlin, which is great. At 99, we are 8 Android developers. Right now, I think it's 9 or 10. Working with Kotlin every day and in a productive way. So this is good because we have like senior developers, we have like tech leads, and we have like junior developers coming in the company, and they get Kotlin really fast. Like 1 week of Kotlin, studying the documentation and like writing Kotlin for real. The IDE plugins actually help you a lot because it suggests you to change something here and there so you can improve your code actually. So this is really good because for us at 99, we need to be productive because we don't have time to lose with like language stuff. The language cannot be in front of us. So this is good. Okay, Walmyr, you're saying that Kotlin is good, 99 is using Kotlin, okay, Kotlin is awesome, Kotlin is perfect. Who else is using? I want to see the real deal. Who else is using Kotlin in production? These are the few companies that are using Kotlin. Evernote is doing some libraries and also has a lot of production code in Kotlin. Nubank as well. They have, I think, 80% or 50%. I don't know. I don't remember. I need to talk to Thales. But they have a lot of Kotlin code in production. So if you're a Nubank user, you have Kotlin in your pocket, which is good because the application is very reliable. It was one of the best applications in Brazil. There's also Pinterest. There's a developer from Pinterest called Christina Lee. She did a very good talk at Google I/O this year about Kotlin. Christina Lee and Jake Warden. So I can send you the links later if you guys want to. But it's good to see companies like Square, Basecamp, Trello, Nubank, Uber, 99. A lot of huge companies are using Kotlin already in production. Actually, Basecamp apps 100% Kotlin already. There's some posts on Twitter. I think the developer's name is Dan Kin, I guess. I can pass you later. And he was migrating, making the process of migrating the project like in 2 months, I guess. So 2 months from Java to Kotlin. It's good, actually. I don't remember the exactly data, but it's very fast to migrate something from Java to Kotlin. So, also Google made the Kotlin official supported language for Android development this year. We are already using Kotlin since last year, but this year they say, okay, Kotlin is a real deal, so we need to provide that to the user. So this is good. This is good, actually. This is a very cool graph that I get from the Google searches. After Google officially announced the support for Kotlin, and like everyone was like searching for Kotlin on that day. So the graph was like, okay, Kotlin's good, or something like that. So this is interesting because you can see how much Google can influence developers, like can make like decisions easier to product managers. So if Google is supporting it, okay, you can support it. So this is good. Okay, well, you're saying that Kotlin is good, Kotlin is great, everyone's using. Where can I use Kotlin? What kind of application can I do with Kotlin besides Android? There's Android already. You can use it for Android development officially supported. There's plugins for it. But not only Android for phones, actually. You can use for Android things, you can use for Android TV, auto, Wear. So you have a lot of usage for Kotlin only in the Android world. So this is good. For me, as an Android specialist, it's very good because I have the power to use Kotlin everywhere. So if I'm making like Android things, like IoT application, I can use Kotlin. If I made an Android Wear application, I can use Kotlin. So this is good. We have the power of use Kotlin not only on phones, but also on any Android platform. This is great. This is a very, if you guys want to open, this is an official blog post from Google saying that, okay, we support Kotlin. Here's what you need to do to use Kotlin already. If you're a server developer, backend developer, this is one of the frameworks that supported this officially. Spring made a blog post introducing Kotlin support in the Spring 5.0. I don't know about the versions of the framework, if you're using the old version or new version, but the Spring 5.0 version already supports Kotlin. So if you want to use Kotlin on the server side, and also if you have an application and a server side, you can use Kotlin in both worlds. This is really good. It's very powerful, actually. This is the link if you guys want to pick the link. I will make the slides available later, so it's okay. This is a tech preview called Kotlin Native, which brings Kotlin to native platforms, such as not only on the framework level, but native level. So you want to make a game for iOS and Android, if you want to use natively, like the bridge is very close to the native layer of the system, you can use Kotlin. There's some tech preview called Kotlin.vm, actually. This is an official blog post. If you guys want to search for that, it's available on this link. There's a link here. There's a link here. Okay. So, good. TLDR, if you're using already Kotlin for JVM on Android server, or if you're using a JVM for Android or server or a game development, you probably can use Kotlin already, which is good because you don't need to like make your projects from scratch and like do everything again and again. So this is very good for us as developers. So right now I'm going to show you a little bit more of the language in terms of development. Actually, who here has touched Kotlin sometimes? Raise your hand. One, like 5 people. That's good. Okay, not so good. Okay, I'll show you a little bit of Kotlin. Like it's very basic. And after that, I'll show you some real production examples of Kotlin at 99. Some not harmful code, just code that we use at 99 for some views and such. So let's go. I'll pass through like teaching stuff, but if you have any questions, just maybe say for later or let me know. Or if I talk to something wrong, just let me know later or something. Okay. So here's an example of how to make variables in Kotlin. As you can see, you kind of see the similarities with other languages such as Swift and like Python, JavaScript. It's very simple actually compared to Java. You can explicitly define the type of a variable, but if you don't want to, the typing is different. So if you don't want to declare the type of the variables anytime, the type is inferred. So in this case, we have the val. and the type is int here, and there's one the value. But if you don't specify the value, it knows that's int because it's inferred. And on this case, if you don't pass any argument or any value to it, you need to pass the type. So in this case, it cannot be inferred if you don't have the value. That's very logical. So very simple, very straightforward. This is for like mutable variables. In this case, you have like immutables, read-only variables. So in this case, you have the same timing concept. If you declare the type, you declare the value, the type is inferred. If you don't, you need to pass the type. So it's very straightforward, nothing very huge here, and very different here. It's very good. This is a very good example of string templates. In Kotlin, you don't need to like string format or something. We can do something like this. You have the value of the ID. Oh, sorry, I just changed the name. Actually, it should be ID there. Yeah, sorry. This one's a good example. This one's wrong. Here, as you can see, you don't need to like access this value. Let me just change it. Bothering me a lot. Just a sec. As you can see, here you don't need to like pass the value to a method. You just need to like do this string template, just passing the dollar value here, and you already knows that the value is this one. So on the logs, it's very good for logging. If you want to pass something for logging, this is very good. But you can also go further and like do something with the value inside the string template instead of just reading that. So you can just, instead of just reading, you can replace the value here. Something you can put this, make like real code inside the string templates. It's not so, actually it's not the solid part here is not very used, but it's very interesting to see how much power you have in Kotlin. Oops, sorry. This one is a very good example of how you can declare objects in Kotlin. As you can see, I don't need to declare new or something like that. It's very straightforward. The language is not in front of you, so everything that they can remove, like semicolons and new and optional strong typing, they did. So in this case, I'm making a pair, which is similar to map. So I'm making like a pair here, and on the pair, as you can see, to access the first and second value, I need to pass the object and call like first object.first and object.second, which is weird because it's not so concise in terms of I don't know what second is or I don't know what first is if I don't read the code. So there's a very good way to fix that. It's called destructing variables. So instead of just pass an object called character, I can pass actually this constructed pair called name and ID inside parentheses, and you can access the value straight, like name and ID. So it's very different, it's very powerful to do something like that, because when you're using Kotlin in real deal, you can see that these small trickies here and there actually helps you a lot in the daily basis. So functions. Functions in Kotlin are very similar to other languages. As you can see, the parameters here, actually you can see the parameters, they have the value first, the type later. So this is good. I think it's more concise, but it's very personal taste. I'm not strongly saying that it's the best, so I just like it better. And here you have like a function that returns an int, because the result of the sum is an int. And as I said before, the type is inferred, but it's not only inferred for the variables. It's actually inferred for the functions as well. So in this case, we have one example of something called quick return. So if you have like single return functions, you can like use equals instead of the braces and the return word. So it's very short. It's very easy to make one-liners in Kotlin. I actually recommend that to you to make one-liners in Kotlin because they look good. They are concise, but you can write bad code in Kotlin as well. But what I'm saying is that this is a very good example of how much Kotlin can be simpler without remove the logical part and the conciseness part. So It's a very good example. This is one example of a function that doesn't return nothing. Kotlin doesn't have the concept of void. We have unit, which is similar to void. It's like we don't have nothing, but it's called unit. And Kotlin also, every type in Kotlin is from an object. So instead of just using void, everything is, even the primitive objects like string and int is an object. So you don't have, like, for example, an int here is like an object int. Instead, as you can see, it's not the int from Java. So in this case, you don't have the concept of primitives as well. You have like everything from Kotlin is from any, which is like any object. I can show you later, but that's it. It's very simple. It's very straightforward, and you don't need to declare that it returns a unit. So this is really good. I want to show you an example of something called extension functions, which is a very common pattern in some languages such as C#. This is a very simple example of how we can hide stuff on Android. I have like a progress dot set visibility, and inside you have like the view.gone value. We can do something like this in Kotlin. Kotlin doesn't have the concept of getters and setters, so we have something called property access, which helps you to access the value of the getter and setter and set it straight instead of just passing to another method. So the value is this: view.gone, view.visible, view.invisible. So this is very. You can see that you can remove a lot of the complexity of the code writing this way. But if you want to do this code better, we can do something like this. We can create something called an extension function, which adds functionalities to existent classes on your framework. For example, if you want to add something to string class or date class, or like a thread or something, you can add your own object, your own methods inside these already known classes from the framework or nothing or something. This one is from Android. This view class is from Android. I'm adding the gone method to it. So instead of just use this, I can use something called loading progress.done, .gone, which is easier for me to write, and it's very convenient because I don't need to repeat this kind of code every time. So it's very convenient. So it's a very common pattern to have like extension functions classes in Kotlin. So it's like a utils class, but in a good way. You don't need to like have a class and call the class every time and do static import or something. Just it is inside your own APIs, which is very, very convenient, actually. And we also have this concept called infix notation, infix functions, which is also very common, but some languages like Java doesn't have that. So instead of just have this function and pass it as a method, calling from the object, we can like remove this part. We can remove this need of like put dot and call the method and pass the value that we need to some as a parameter and do like that, which like is very clear and it's very concise because you're like removing some stuff from the code and making it more readable and more clear. So if you click on this sum method here, it sends you to this one. As you can see, besides the infix part, it's a very common method. So it's just it's an extension function that passes the instance of this int as this and sum with your parameter. So it's very convenient. This is very powerful, actually. I will show you some extensions that we use at 99. It's very powerful, it's very good. And so it's something that we use a lot, actually. I'll show you an example of, if you're a Java developer, don't be mad at me, please. I'll show you an example of a Java class, a common Java class with two getters and setters, for two pairs of getters and setters. It's a very simple class called character. As you can see, the class doesn't fit on the slide, so sorry. So this is a very good example of a simple class in Kotlin. I didn't put the toString and equals and hash code and methods and such. This is just a class, getters and setters. It's also optional, but it's a very common pattern in Java. And this is how you can make classes in Kotlin. As you can see, it's just one line. And as I said, Kotlin doesn't have the concept of getters and setters. So instead of just using them, you just put a data class, this data value here, and it already provides you all that you need from your class, like toString and an equals method and hash code. And all these methods are inside the data class, so it's very convenient for us. So using the data class, you can do something like this. If, for example, I have the class character, which has default values like empty and 0 for ID. And for example, if I have a variable called Rick and write this Rick wrong, instead of just set name, put set name here, just call name and set the value. You don't need to explicitly call getter and setter. So it's very convenient. And this is very good. And one thing that's also really good is this called copy method. The copy helps you to override only the parameters that you want. So if you want to like leave the ID as the Rick original one and just change the name for Morty, you can do it. So it's very optional. So if you want to like do the copy and just change the values that you want, the parameters are very flexible to that. And the good part is, if you want to like invert the order of the parameters, it's okay because they are named. So if you have the name here, you don't need to like put the name first and the ID later. You can invert and put ID first and name later. It confuses, but you have this kind of power in Kotlin. So because it's named, it's okay to like invert the order, or like for some kind of test, I can do a different order. So it's okay. It's a very simple, it's a very concise way to do that. This is some simple examples of conditionals in Kotlin. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. But one thing, it's funny because one thing that I miss the most in Kotlin is like ternary ifs. They don't have ternary ifs in Kotlin. It's very sad because some people say that's code smell, but I like it. And this is very simple. As you can see, you don't have semicolons, and it's very simple logic. As the type is infinite, you can also do something like this, which is one-liner again. So it's more cleaner, more easier. This is really good actually for testing. So if you like have this kind of boilerplate code for testing, it's very good to have like this kind of ways to short your code. So this is really cool. This is a very simple example of functions. Here are some examples of loops. As you can see, I have a val. I don't need to specify that this val is an array. S is a type inferred. I just pass the list of, this list of methods is from the Kotlin standard library. So you can make like array list and hash map and list of pairs, just passing the values to this list of method. And to access them is very simple. So for an item inside items, print it. So it's very straightforward. It's nothing so different here. But it's very good because you can like improve your way that you're coding and like using the other concepts like string templates and other stuff to like combine them to code better actually. So in this case, I'm picking the index of this list of items and getting them from items.index. Sorry, it's not translated well. So you can get the index inside of array instead of just passing through and like extracting the index before the for loop. So it's very convenient to use that way. You might say that other languages do that, yeah, but Kotlin has it as well. It's very powerful. So this is another example, very simple example of a while loop. It's very simple. It's you can see, you can compare that to the other common languages as well. It's not so different. So here you don't have much difference. One of the things that I like the most about Kotlin is the when operator. Kotlin has a lot of operators like let and apply, but when is very different because I like to say that when is a hipster switch case. It's very similar to a switch case, but you don't need to like do the case and break, and it's it's a lot more cleaner. It's very concise in terms of what you can do inside of when block. So, for example, this is any object. It's an object that derives from any, and as you can see, we can compare if the object is like a type, not only an int type or like a string type, but we can also do this kind of type checking with is in Kotlin similar to instance of from Java. So it's very shorter, but still keeps logical. You can also do this kind of isn't on the string. And you have like null and if and else inside of when as well. So we use that a lot at 99. So it's very convenient for us, especially for example, if you like doing the navigation drawer click listeners, you can do like when and check each item specifically and treat that using the when. So it's very convenient. You can do like complex stuff like I was showing in the for loops slide. You can do something like this. You can check if an item is inside an array, and then for that kind of for that when part, you can do specific logic. So it's very convenient to do something like this because it's very easy to read this code, and it's JVM, which is awesome. So very simple for Android developers who has some issues with Java and like obligatory typing and typecasting and such. So it's very convenient. And as you can see, you have the very good example of infix notation here. So this in methods, if you look into the declaration, it's just an infix notation that compares the value passed as a parameter to the array. So it's very convenient, very simple. The nullability part is good because in Kotlin, if you do something like this, it's not going to work because you did not say that this variable is a nullable, so it will not compile. So if you want to make something nullable, you just add a question mark for it, and it's okay because you know it's a nullable. So if you have, for example, like an object from server that has 5 values and 3 of these values can be null, you just can add nullable for it, and it's okay. It's not going to explode because when you do the serialization of the JSON, it will be okay because it's not going to crash or something because it's already expecting a null from it. So it's very convenient. And you have also the else operator here, which help us to like increase this kind of code. For example, I have a value that's an int, and I need to check if it's null. And if it's not, I get the length. If it's so, I get -1. But if you want to use the else operator here, you can do something like this. You have the null check here on the B using the question mark. If it's not null, I get the length. If it's null, which this else operator is saying, I get the -1. So you can compare. I removed the type inference, I removed this null check, and I removed this else and if. So it's you can shrink the code a lot. And we do that a lot, like every day. Every time that we make a pull request, we have a code that's like 10 lines longer, and some developers say, why not to do this? It goes to 5 lines, and after that it goes to like 3 lines, and just sometimes we can resume a method or something in just 1 line, which is very convenient. So this is just some of examples. I actually wanted to put more examples here, but Kotlin language is very powerful. Kotlin language is here to stay because, as I showed you, a lot of companies are using Kotlin already in production, and there's no fear. I want here to say that there's no need to fear to use Kotlin in production because the language is very powerful. It's very mature, actually, very solid. The 1.0 version is very solid. And what I want to say is just use it. If you have some questions about the language, let me know. I'm here to help. If you want to run some stuff in Kotlin, just let me know. And I just want to pass you some links to help you to get through, to get going with Kotlin. If you guys have any question, I'll be here on the event all day. So I'm just going to pass you some links here. The Kotlin official page is very good. I just learned Kotlin there. The documentation is really, really powerful. We have this meetup called Kotlin Meetup São Paulo. We have like 2 meetups already. We did one in February, one last month. Really, really good. If you want to talk about Kotlin, if you want to learn Kotlin and want to talk about Kotlin, just let me know. Or just enter that. I am one of the organizers of the meetup. There's an official podcast called Talking Kotlin, which is from JetBrains. There's a Hadi, which is a developer advocate at JetBrains. He does the podcast, actually. There's a conference called Kotlin Conf. This is official one from JetBrains, first edition of Kotlin Conf. Unfortunately, I'm not going, but here is the link of it. And here's the link for the Android developers page about Kotlin. So if guys have any questions or any doubts, just go to these links. These are the ones that I use it for this talk. And that's it. Thanks for having me here, and I really appreciate the opportunity. And these two actually are really funny. This one is Kotlin. Kotlin is awesome. They have a lot of content, including blog posts, including like GitHub projects and such. And this other one is like switches like Kotlin. It's like a page that compares both languages. And if you learn Kotlin, you can actually learn like 70% of Swift already. So, so it's very easy to learn both languages at the same time because they are very similar. So that's it. Thank you so much.